And on this third female vocal, we have seen this one before in some of the examples. Obviously, the big changes is that it starts off almost whispering.
In a little quiet place, I wait for you. In a little secret place, I dream of you.
So there's some really nice breathy stuff there that we might want to bring up. Another thing you can do here is that there's nothing stopping you from chopping some of these vocal parts out, putting them on different tracks, and then putting different compressors on each of those tracks. It's a great way to handle, very different parts of vocal tracks, because as you can see, this area here is a lot different from this area here. And if you set the threshold to crush down these peaks here, it won't be affecting the threshold over here, and you won't be able to bring up those breathy parts. So for that reason, either a serial setup of a couple of compressors could work well, or you can cut and paste some of these parts onto different tracks and then treat them completely different. So here's an example of me actually doing that. I've duplicated this track down here, chopped off the tail of that, chopped off the beginning of that. So we still have the two parts, the full part of the vocal, they're just split out in different tracks, which means that we can have completely different compressors set on these two very different parts of the vocal. You can see that the top one here has this compressor here, and then the bottom one has this compressor down here. Let me just give that a little bit more of a ratio. So now what we should be hearing is a lot of breathiness at the beginning part here because of the way this is set up. There's a lot more makeup gain there. And let's just see if they're kind of matched and we can get some of that breathiness out of the first part.
Nothing seemed to soothe my mind when I miss you.
I like that breath in there.
I'd be better off alone than without you.
Now we're kicking into the second one.
And I'll be a slave to your time if time keeps you from me.
That's the great thing about compression, because you can hear that she's belting that out, but the levels have not got, a lot higher. Let's go back here and we'll look at the levels here, and then we'll look at the levels here when we kick over this track.
I'd be better off alone.
That's probably averaging around here, right? And then now look down here.
And I'll be a slave to your time if time keeps you from me.
So I'm just raising that threshold so we can match these two guys. Okay, let's try it again.
I'd be better off alone than without you.
Let's see what it's like on the second track.
And I'll be a slave.
Look at the massive difference between the levels of this first part and the levels of the second part, but we've been able to match them in a way that just a single compressor couldn't do, because if you had them just on the same track, you wouldn't be able to bring up some of the breathiness here. So splitting off tracks is really a great way to handle tracks that have very disparate sections within that single track.